You know, there's only a few teams that have unstoppable offensive players, right? You could agree with me, Luka,
Yeah.
SGA, Joker, Curry, to name a few.
Steph Curry.
How many teams have two?
Yeah. Not
The
many.
Rockets have two. And you know what? With his improvement, with the addition of KD, name a better duo in the league. I'm listening. There isn't.
Everyone expected the Houston Rockets to need another year or two before becoming a serious contender. Their young core was still developing, and bringing in a 37-year-old Kevin Durant looked to some like a desperate gamble rather than a championship move. Then Houston lost its starting point guard before the season even began, making the situation even more uncertain, while rookie Reed Shepherd was expected to need time to adjust after being selected in the lottery. But then everything changed. One blockbuster move completely transformed the Rockets' trajectory and suddenly made Houston look ready to compete right now. Shepherd immediately began making an impact, knocking down nearly 48% of his three-point attempts on significant volume, while Houston's young core started playing with a confidence and maturity nobody expected this early. The Rockets weren't supposed to be ready yet, and they definitely weren't supposed to be this dangerous, but now Houston is forcing the entire NBA to reconsider just how good this team can actually become.
Oh, pulled back by Reed Shepherd. Oh! Excuse me.
The Houston Rockets aren't just off to a hot start, they're sending a clear message that they're ready to compete right now. Sitting at 9-3 near the top of the Western Conference, Houston is playing with a level of confidence, physicality, and control that's impossible to ignore. This doesn't look like a team that simply caught fire for a few weeks. The Rockets are dominating the boards, controlling possessions, and creating matchup nightmares with a combination of Kevin Durant and Alperen Sengun. When Durant arrived at 37, many questioned whether he could still be the player you rely on when the pressure is at its highest. Then came the showdown with Orlando. Houston spent most of the game trying to catch the magic, but when everything came down to the final moments, Durant reminded everyone why he's one of the greatest scorers ever. With less than a minute remaining, KD calmly stepped back and drilled a game-tying three over Wendell Carter Jr. Moments later, Sengun made a massive defensive play, blocking a shot at the rim to keep Houston alive. Orlando looked ready to take control again, but with just 1.4 seconds left, Amen Thompson found Sengun, who knocked down a turnaround hook at the buzzer to force overtime. Houston took over in the extra period and secured a 117-113 victory, led by Durant's 35 points and Sengun's incredible 30-point, 12-rebound, and 8-assist performance. But what makes this duo truly dangerous isn't just the numbers, it's the impossible decisions they force defenses to make. Sengun can punish opponents in the post, create opportunities for teammates, and dominate the paint, while Durant demands attention from virtually anywhere on the court. Double Sengun, and Durant gets room to attack. Double Durant, and Sengun can tear defenses apart inside. Try to defend both one-on-one, and Houston can make you pay. The Rockets now have size, rebounding, playmaking, defense, and one of the most unstoppable scorers in NBA history. This is no longer just a promising young team. Houston is rapidly becoming one of the Western Conference's biggest problems.
Durant on top. Durant pulling back, shooting for the tie. He gets it. Kevin Durant is cold.
Reed Shepherd has quickly gone from an intriguing young guard to one of Houston's most dangerous weapons, shooting above 47% from three and forcing defenders to stay attached to him every time he steps on the court. With Kevin Durant demanding constant attention, opponents simply can't afford to leave Shepherd open, and that creates more driving lanes for Amen Thompson, cleaner opportunities for Jabari Smith Jr., and better spacing for the entire Rockets offense. That's what makes having a superstar like Durant so valuable. It's not just the points he scores, but the opportunities he creates for everyone around him. And Houston's physical dominance goes far beyond Durant and Alperen Sengun. The Rockets have become one of the league's toughest teams on the offensive glass, consistently creating second-chance opportunities and wearing opponents down with their size. Steven Adams has been especially effective in limited minutes, using his strength and instincts to generate extra possessions, particularly when playing alongside Sengun. Together, they create a brutal matchup for opposing big men because even after a defender appears to secure the rebound, Houston often finds a way to keep the possession alive. When Adams heads to the bench, the Rockets can turn to another experienced center in Clint Capela, giving them yet another legitimate rebounder. That depth on the glass gives Houston a major physical advantage. Opponents can defend for an entire possession, force a tough shot, and still watch the Rockets come away with another opportunity. That constant pressure doesn't just hurt teams on the scoreboard, it slowly drains them mentally and physically. Jabari Smith Jr. is also starting to resemble the player Houston envisioned when they drafted him, putting together one of the best offensive seasons of his career while continuing to provide reliable shooting and strong defense. But perhaps the biggest development has been Shepherd. The third overall pick in the 2024 NBA draft is playing with a completely different level of confidence in his sophomore season, producing efficiently in limited minutes and shooting close to 50% from deep on meaningful volume. There's no longer any hesitation in his game. He catches, shoots, attacks, and makes decisions quickly. And when a young guard starts playing with that kind of confidence next to Kevin Durant, Houston suddenly has another weapon that defenses simply cannot ignore. Shepherd has reached the point where the hesitation is gone. Catch the ball, make a quick adjustment if necessary, and let it fly. Defenders know they have to stay attached, but doing that only creates more space for Durant and Sengun to attack. When Fred VanVleet suffered an ACL injury, it looked like Houston might be in serious trouble, but instead, his absence opened the door for Shepherd to take on a much larger role, and he has taken full advantage of it. The Rockets have also been shooting the ball at an elite level, connecting on 42.6% of their three-point attempts early in the season despite not relying on massive three-point volume. And these aren't simply wide-open practice shots. Durant is hitting difficult pull-ups, Shepherd is thriving as a catch-and-shoot threat, Jabari is punishing defenses from the perimeter, and even Sengun is becoming someone opponents can't completely ignore outside the paint. Some of those percentages will eventually come down, but Houston has already shown that its shooting threat is real, especially with more perimeter help expected to strengthen the rotation. Much of this offensive transformation comes from head coach Ime Udoka, who has completely reshaped the identity of Rockets basketball. Houston isn't just relying on threes or straight-line drives anymore. Instead, the offense is using isolation possessions with purpose. Even without ranking among the league leaders in passing volume, the Rockets remain highly efficient because they have two elite creators capable of generating offense without needing much help. Durant can attack almost any matchup in isolation, while Sengun can punish smaller defenders and create opportunities from the post. That leaves opponents facing an impossible choice: send help toward Durant and give Sengun an opening, or focus on Sengun and risk leaving one of the greatest scorers in NBA history with a favorable matchup. Udoka has also added another major weapon on the defensive end through an aggressive zone scheme. Houston uses zone defense far more frequently than most teams, protecting the paint, disrupting offensive rhythm, and forcing opponents into difficult shots instead of allowing easy looks. The result is a Rockets team that is no longer simply talented. They're physical, versatile, confident, and increasingly difficult to game plan against. With the length, size, and athleticism on this roster, Houston has the ability to rotate, switch, and recover without constantly giving up easy scoring opportunities. They're also putting pressure on opponents by consistently getting to the free throw line, with Durant drawing contact, Sengun using his strength around the basket, and Amen Thompson attacking the rim relentlessly. The Rockets aren't a flawless defensive team, but they're disciplined, versatile, and clearly improving. They can switch between man-to-man and zone coverage, they have size across the lineup, and they're forcing opponents to work for nearly every point. Of course, hot starts don't always last, and some of Houston's shooting numbers will inevitably come back down to earth. But even if the percentages cool off, the bigger picture remains extremely encouraging. The Rockets have developed an identity that looks far more sustainable than simply relying on an early season shooting streak. Maybe teams eventually figure out how to exploit Houston's zone. Maybe Durant's 37-year-old body starts feeling the effects of an 82-game season.